بسم الله الحمد لله الحمد لله حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيده حمدا يليق بجلال وجهه وعظيم سلطانه له الحمد في الأولى والآخرة وهو الحكيم الخبير وصلى الله وسلم وبارك وأنعم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما ولا تجعله وبالا علينا والحمد لله على كل حال ونعوذ بالله من حال أهل النار. And we're going over it. And the hadith that we're going to start today, inshallah ta'ala, is going to be the hadith of Sahal ibn Sa'ad Sa'idi عن سهل بن سعد الساعدي رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: لا يزال الناس بخير ما عجلوا الفطر. متفق عليه. This hadith is regarding the manners of breaking the fast, and the Sahal ibn Sa'ad radiallahu anhu narrated that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the people will not cease to be upon good. لا يزال الناس بخير ما عجلوا الفطر, as long they hasten to break the fasts. So the hadith, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, this hadith is evidence that how is the sunnah and is good and is recommended for the person to rush to break their fasts. But that's when? It's when you confirm the sun, the sunset. Doesn't mean you're gonna rush to break your fast while you didn't confirm the sunset. So the moment that you realize the time of the iftar, you should at least take eat some dates, some tamar, or drink some water. It's sunnah and recommended for you to break your fast and to rush to do it. So that's what it means. The Rasul is mentioned that the people is going to be in khair as long they are rushing to break their fast, and of course that's when the time of the breaking the fast comes. And that was the Rasul used to do it. In other hadith or in other narration, it's the Rasul mentioned, some ulama say this hadith is sahih. They mentioned that three things are the manners of the prophets. And one of them was ta'jilul fitri, hastening the breaking the fasts. And wa ta'khirus suhoor, delaying the suhoor, as we also explained in the previous class. And so that's one of the things that they mentioned in the hadith. So to do that, it is it's a recommended act. It's highly recommended, and that even how the Sahaba radiallahu anhum they used to do. The Amr radiallahu anhu is saying, كان أصحاب محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أسرع الناس في إفطارا وأبطأهم سحورا. So the companions of the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were the quickest people to break their fasts and the slowest of them in taking the suhoor. So that's how the sunnah is that way. As long as I mentioned the delay in the suhoor and rushing to break their fast, there's one thing that we need to mention here. Imagine if the person, he breaks his fast while he thinks that it's the time of the iftar, and finally later on he realizes the time that he ate the iftar or the time that he ate the iftar, it wasn't the time of the supposed to be. Do you get the scenario? Do you get it? Like for example, right now it's 6:29. The time, the sunset is going to be, for example, 7:14. You break your fast at 7:09 or 7:08 while you're thinking it's the sunset. But still, it's not the time of breaking what? The fast. In that scenario, are you going to make up that day? Is your sum valid? or not? Do you get the scenario, right? And also another thing, another time what happened is, for another scenario, you may try to delay the suhoor, but you're going to realize, oh, you are eating the suhoor. It was after Fajr. Huh? You're eating the suhoor after Fajr. You're going to realize, later on, you're going to realize that. So, if that is the case, and that what happened is, the majority of the scholars, they're going to say, to make up that day is going to be wajib on that person. You have to complete the fast of the day. Of course, the moment that you realize you still in the day of the fasting, you're going to continue, and you're going to make up the day. So that's the way they like, a lot of the ulama, they said, لزم القضاء. لزم القضاء. من أفطر ظانا دخول وقت الإفطار فتحقق له أنه أفطر في غير وقت الإفطار، هذا ماذا يلزم عليه القضاء عند جمهور العلماء أو عند نعم. And some scholars, they said, no, they don't have to make up that fasting. They don't have to make up that fasting. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the best, the strongest in that matter is going to be for you to make up. Because you have to make sure, when you're doing the ibadah, you have to make sure is this the appropriate time for the ibadah or not. Like if you pray dhuhr, like in the time of, in the, maybe in morning, or you pray asr in the time of the dhuhr, while of course you don't have the excuse for that, if not for traveling or anything like that, then we cannot say your salah will be valid because you don't know it, right? It's your responsibility to know the time of the fasting, the time you're going to stop, the time that you're going to fast, because this is the ibadah, this is the worship, and this is something that you need to, the responsibility that you need to take care of and to fulfill it. Now, and the other ulama also, they have other hujjah. And the other thing that I want to mention is, when you're breaking your fasts, it's like, a great opportunity for you to make dua, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what do you want? Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, ثلاث أو ثلاثة لا ترد دعوتهم الإمام العادل والصائم حتى يحين يفطر ودعوة المظلوم. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, the three people, their supplication are not rejected. لا ترد دعواتهم. Who are they? The just Imam, the person, the leader who is adil, who always follow the chastise, the adil. And the second one is the fasting person when he breaks or when she breaks his fast or her fast. So when the person is breaking his fast, then we're going to say, oh, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling us here that is one of the times that the dua of the person is not rejected. So it's a great opportunity for you not to avoid it. And the third one is the supplication of the oppressed, the da'watul madhloom. So, brothers and sisters, it's a great opportunity for you to make the dua, to raise your hands towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what you want. Like, of course, you are hungry all the day, you see the food right now. It's good for you when you eat, like when you are doing the iftar, always not to forget to make dua, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what you want, to make dua for your parents, to make dua for the Muslimin, and to make dua for the ummah. So always don't lose the opportunity. It's a great opportunity that dua is accepted. And Abdullahi ibn Amr ibn al-As, he said that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said in another hadith, إِنَّ لِلصَّائِمِ عِنْدَ فِطْرِهِ لَدَعْوَةٌ مَا تُرَدْ. Verily, when the fasting person breaks his fast, there's a supplication that's not rejected. Subhanallah. So you always need to make that dua. And also, of course, it's a part of the sunnah when you eat in the iftar to start with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after you break the fast, to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And always to be thankful for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide you for what you have and all of that. So that's the hadith. And the other hadith that we're going to inshallah ta'ala go over today is the hadith 12 عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الصيام جنة فلا يرفث ولا يصخب وفي رواية ولا يجهل وإن امرؤ قاتله أو شاتمه فليقل إني صائم إني صائم متفق عليه. نعم. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrating this hadith that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, As-siyamu junnah. Fasting is a shield. It's a shield. It's a protection. Naam. So the Rasul say, فَلَا يَرْفُثْ وَلَا يَسْخَبْ. So the fasting person should not avoid, should not behave foolishly and should not behave ignorantly. And the Rasul even gave us a solution. If something or such stuff happen while you are fasting, what is going to be your appropriate? What are you going to need to do it? The Rasul said, وَإِنِ امْرُؤٌ قَاتَلَهُ أَوْ شَاتَمَهُ فَلْيَقُلْ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ. And if someone fights him or insults him, let him say, I am fasting twice. I am fasting, I am fasting. So even if someone comes to you, you should let them know that you are fast and you don't want to be associated with this action or with this speech or with these words. This is how the fasting person needs to avoid everything. Why? Because as we say, the fasting person is requested to guide his fasts and to withhold from whatever, that's going to impact his fasting. And as you know, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the hadith that we already mentioned, صلوات ربي وسلامه عليه, يقال من لم يدع قول الزور والعمل به والجهل فليس لله حاجة في أن يدع طعامه وشرابه. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is saying, whoever does not give up the false speech, acting according to it, and behaving ignorantly, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of him leaving his food and drink. So as a believer, as a fasting person, you need to be aware of that. You need to be aware of all the ignorant speeches, and you need to understand that. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned here, As-siyamu junnah. Fasting is a shield. It will cover you and protect you from what you fear. So it's a protection. And of course, when you're fasting, it's going to protect you for disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's going to protect you even from the ma'asi. When the person is fasting, you're going to be away from a lot of things that you are, maybe you will do it if you are not fasting. So there's a junnah. It's a junnah because it's going to be junnah, inshallah ta'ala, from the hellfire and the nar. So it's something that we need to know it, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ask our deeds and our fastings. Naam. And also the Rasul mentioned, should not behave foolishly. Means yelling or screaming or talking over one another. That behavior, it shouldn't be for the fasting person. And the Rasul also mentioned, فَلَا يَرْفُثْ وَلَا يَسْخَبْ وَلَا يَجْهَلْ. He say, and shall not behave ignorantly. That the intent of the ignorance here, is the opposite of the patience. So you need to be aware of that. And the other thing is, you have to be away from anything, the actions of the ignorance people, acting insolent and the likes. Naam. So that's what we're gonna mention about this hadith. So if we say it again, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, الصيام جنة فلا يرفث ولا يصخب ولا يجهل وإن امرؤ قاتله أو شاتمه فليقل إني صائم إني صائم متفق عليه. So the fasting is a shield. So the fasting person should avoid, should not behave, as we say, foolishly, and also should not behave ignorantly. And if someone fights him or insults him, let him say, I am fasting, I'm fasting. It's going to say 2 times. Now, so this is the akhlaq and the manners of the person when you're fasting, and even when you are not fasting. You always need to be away from that, even when you're fasting. But when you're fasting, it's more important because you're going to also need to protect your fast. And the other hadith is, the hadith is talking about the siwak. حديث يتعلق بالسواك. فعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: لولا أن أشق على أمتي لأمرتهم بالسواك عند كل صلاة. متفق عليه، وللبخاري تعليقا مع كل وضوء. So Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, if it were not that I will place a hardship on my nation, on my ummah, if it wasn't that, I will have ordered them to use the siwak at the time of every salah. Like if it wasn't like, the Rasul he felt like, if it were not that I will place a hardship on them, on my ummah. If I'm not feeling from that, I will have ordered them, I will command them to use the siwak on every salah. Another, the Bukhari reported, he said also in other narration, in every wudu, ma'a kulli wudu, at every. So that hadith it's going to show you, and the reason that Sheikh brought this hadith here is, you need is the siwak. You can do the siwak while you're fasting. Like you can use the siwak while you're fasting. And the siwak by itself is a sunnah. And some of the scholars, they make about of the recommended acts of the wudu. Whenever you make your wudu, to do the siwak is recommended. Some of them, they make a separate, one which is a separate recommendation of the sunnah. So that anyway, it's to do the siwak, but it is good. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in another hadith, السواك مطهرة للفم مرضاة للرب. Cleaning the teeth, or doing the siwak, is a purification for the mouth, and also is a pressure for the Lord, for Allah subhanahu, for the Lord. Naam. So this is is the general. Whenever you take it and doing the siwak is مطهرة للفم مرضاة للرب. Naam. So but there is an opinion of some scholars not to do the siwak after the asr. And the reason that they say that, it's because the reason they, the evidence they use is that, the hadith that we already mentioned, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لَخُلُوفُ فَمِ الصَّائِمِ أَطْيَبُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ رِيحِ الْمِسْكِ. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the scent coming out from the mouth of the fasting person is better than with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the scent or the smell of the misk. So the ulama, they say changing of the breath, is a detested smell which happens when the stomach is empty of food. So it's not they're saying when that happens, that smell, if that smell comes when you do the siwak and you take out that smell and you remove that smell, you remove something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless it. Or the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam bless it and say that smell is better than what? It's better than the misk, right? So for you are taking out that smell. But some ulama, they say it's fine. You can do the siwak after the asr, because they say the smell, it doesn't come from the mouth, it comes from where? From the stomach. So that's what some ulama say. They say if the smell comes from the mouth, the stomach, that doesn't change, the siwak doesn't change, right? Siwak doesn't remove what? Doesn't remove the smell. But if the smell comes from the mouth, definitely the siwak will remove it. So that is the some ulama, they say, no, this is coming. So it can be different. Some people, the smell can come from the stomach, some of them can be from the mouth, and the dislikable is going to be, if you are removing that smell, it's going to go to that way. نعم. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: من ذرعه القيء فليس عليه قضاء ومن استقاء فليقضي. رواه أبو داود والترمذي وابن ماجه وأحمد ورواته ثقات. هذا الحديث يتعلق عن القيء. هل ينقض الوضوء؟ هل ينقض الصوم أم لا؟ So Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said that whoever is overcome by vomiting, does not have to make it up. If you overcome, if you didn't if you want a reason for it, if you want to vomit intentionally, then you don't have to make up the fasting. But the Rasul says, وَمَنْ اسْتَقَاعَ فَلْيَقْضِي. But if he vomits intentionally, he must make it up. فَلْيَقْضِي. He must make it up. He must make it up. And that reported by Abu Dawood, At-Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, Ahmed, and also it's and the narrator is the ulama of this narrator is reliable. That's what they said. Now, so this hadith is the evidence that the vomit is intentional. Like if the fasting person vomits intentionally, then his fasting is invalidated. But if it wasn't intentionally, it's overcome, then that time the person doesn't need to make up the fasting. Now, and there's no difference between what's going to be the vomiting. So that's something that's something that it's going to be now. So that's something is one of the things that nullify the fasting. So we already pointed about the eating and drinking, right? If you eat or drink during the day of Ramadan, your sawm will be what? Your sawm will be invalid, right? Naam. What about if you eat or drink, without intention, by mistake, you forget, you're fasting, maybe first day of Ramadan, you get used to eat lunch, get some restaurant from there and there, you forget, you just went to a restaurant, you just eat, after you finish everything, come out, you say, oh, subhanAllah, it was first day of Ramadan, Well, what's going to be your fasting? It's going to be valid or invalid? It's going to be valid. Because Allah says, فَإِنَّمَا أَطْعَمَهُ اللَّهُ فَإِنَّمَا أَطْعَمَهُ اللَّهُ وَسَقَاهُ. Now. And the other thing is, the third thing that's nullified the fasting is the one that we already mentioned, the vomiting, if it's intentionally. And this is the fourth one that we're going to see in this hadith, which is going to be like the sexual intercourse. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه أتاه رجل فقال يا رسول الله هلكت قال وما أهلكك قال وقعت على امرأتي في رمضان قال هل تستطيع أن تعتق رقبة قال لا قال هل تستطيع أن تصوم شهرين متتابعين قال لا قال هل تستطيع أن تطعم 60 مسكينا قال لا قال فجلس فأتي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعرق فيه تمر قال فتصدق به قال ما بين لابتيها أحد أفقر منا قال فضحك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حتى بدت أنيابه قال خذه فأطعمه أهلك متفق عليه. So this hadith, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there's a story between a man and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Abu Hurairah narrating this hadith, and he's saying that a man came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And when he came to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, oh ya Rasul Allah, oh the messenger of Allah, I have been destroyed. Halaktu, I have been destroyed. قال وما أهلكك. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, what destroyed you? What destroyed you? And he said, يا رسول الله وقعت على امرأتي في رمضان. I had the sexual intercourse with my wife in Ramadan, during the day of Ramadan. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, when he said that, and as you see, the Sahabi, for him committing this, he have the feeling of that, he get destroyed, and he has been destroyed because he feels he commits a sin. Because he shouldn't do that in the day of the Ramadan. In the day of what? Ramadan. He should be away from it. So he have the feeling of he commit a major sin. So, and that's why he felt halaktu ya Rasulullah. Halaktu ya Rasulullah. This is what he considered himself. As a believer, when you like commit something, you should feel that what you did is that, like, you commit a sin, and always, like, you need to seek what? Forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Seek to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. Feeling guilty, like if when you commit something wrong, by itself, like, when you're feeling, it's a path of the tawbah. It's a way, it's one, like, the path of the tawbah. It's the path of the repentance. And it's going to show when you feel guilty about the, like, the sins that you commit and all of that, it's going to show that your qalb and your heart is still alive. And you have, like, iman in your heart. Because if there's no iman, the person should, like, will not feel guilty. Like, it's going to feel normal. That whatever is committed, it's going to feel, oh, this is something normal. So that's going to show the iman. And that's what it's going to show here. So here I say, Ya Rasulullah, I have been destroyed. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, like, what destroyed you? And he said, I had that situation, Ya Rasulullah, with my wife in Ramadan. And Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, he asked him, like, the kafara. هل تستطيع أن تعتق رقبة? Are you able to free a slave? He said, لا يا رسول الله. No, I cannot, Ya Rasulullah. And the Rasul asked him the second step. هل تستطيع أن تصوم شهرين متتابعين? Are you able to fast 2 months consecutively? Like 2 consecutive months? And he said, no, Ya Rasulullah. 2 months? Like, you cannot. And by the way, like, those 2 months has to be consecutive. If the person breaks the fast on the day of 58, like, he can restart. Of course, when he's breaking the fast, if that's without excuse. If the person breaks it with excuse, then that's going to be. But because you commit, like, a major thing. Now, هل تستطيع أن تصوم شهرين متتابعين? Are you able to fast, like, 2 months consecutively? And then he say, Ya Rasulullah, no, la Ya Rasulullah. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave him the third option. The first, like, the first one was like, the third one, he said, Ya Rasulullah, the son said, هل تستطيع أن تطعم 60 مسكينا? Are you able to feed 60 poor people? Are you able to feed them? And he said, no, Ya Rasulullah, la Ya Rasulullah. So the 3 options. If he, like, was able to do, like, to free a slave, he wouldn't come to the next step. So the first question was done. He said, I cannot do it. The second one, can you fast 2 months? That's like, like, he said, I cannot do it. Can you, like, feed 60 masakin? He said, I cannot do it, Ya Rasulullah. And then Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told him, Ijlis, sit down. Then sit. And he said, like, he sat down. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like, فأتي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعرق فيه تمر. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given a basket of dates. He was given a basket of dates. And when that was brought to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, فتصدق به, give this in charity. Take this and give it as in charity. So you're gonna, like, it's gonna be like repentance for you. Subhanallah, this was miskin. By himself, he didn't have anything. He said, Ya Rasulullah, Wallahi ma bayna labatayha ahadun afqar minna. There's no one between these 2 mountains poorer than me. There's no one who's, like, more in need for this, like, than me. Ya Rasulullah. And subhanallah, look how the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was merciful. انظر رحمة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. لقد جاءكم رسول من أنفسكم عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم. صلوات ربي وسلامه عليه. He didn't tell him, no. It doesn't matter your situation, do this, take this order. The Rasul they say it. He was so merciful, صلوات ربي وسلامه عليه. فضحك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم, he loved it. Until, like, the molar teeth, like, became visible. And, like, if you hear the molar teeth of the Rasul was become visible, that's, like, when the Rasul laughed, like, that's the first serious, right? Like, the Rasul in love, subhanallah, salawatu rabbi wa salam alayhi, he loved it. And then he said, like, there's no other solution. خُذْهُ فَأَطْعِمْهُ أَهْلَكَ. Take them and feed them to your family. مُتَّفَقٌ alayh. So this story, subhanallah, there's few lessons that we are learning from this hadith. The first thing is that, like, the jima' or the sexual intercourse nullify the fasting. That's the first thing. And the other thing that we are learning from this hadith is, if that happened from the person, then the fasting person needs to do al-kaffaratul uzma, the major kaffara, which means you have to free a slave. If you are not able, you have to do 2 months consecutively. If you are not able to, you have to feed 60 people. You have to feed 60 people. So this is the order. That is the second thing that we are learning from the hadith. And of course, I'm going to add on this. Like the other thing that the people they need to figure out is about this hadith. Also, you have to make up that day. So you're going to make up the day. You're going to complete that day. You cannot eat the day. Like, like if you commit like that intercourse during Ramadan, you cannot eat. You have to still be fast. Like then you're going to make up that day. Then you have to do also the major kafara, which means like those 3 levels. If you cannot do the first level, you're going to go to the second level. If you're unable to do the second level, you're going to go to the 3rd level. So this is also like this is going to be the procedure. Now, and the other thing is, which is like, very, as I mentioned, that we are learning from this hadith, is how the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so merciful, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like, this guy, he didn't have anything. He said, Wallahi ya Rasulullah, I don't have anything. I'm not able to all of this. And even like when he was given like, some solution, he said, Wallahi, this I needed ya Rasulullah. My family, they are in need for this. But the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like even that person, like, as you see, like, he commits sin, like, there was a major, like something that nullified his fast, like, and all of that. As long as he came, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't show him, like, that, look how the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam welcomed him. He's asking him, like, this is what happened to me, ya Rasulullah. What happened to you? Can you do this? Figuring out solution for him. Like, even when he said, yeah, I don't have solution, ya Rasulullah, sit down, like, stay here so we may figure out a solution together. So he was staying the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then, like, something came, subhanallah, and the Rasul is giving him, and it's still, like, this man, he wants this for his family, and the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving him, like, you see how is it? Like, how the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam reacted about the situation. And this is how it's supposed to be, like, as to, like, when it comes to the situations, of course, the person, like, the sins can happen from the person, but still the person is a believer. Still the person is a Muslim. Like, you're going to guide the person, you're going to tell them the khair, you're going to welcome them, you're going to try to, like, this is the correct way, this is the solution. Figure out, help them to get the solutions. Don't be a part of the problem. Don't, like, they increase the what they are in. Maybe, like, sometimes the behavior of the other person, they may even, like, like, it may lead the person to, like, what he was doing to go up. So you shouldn't be, like, do that. لا تعينوا أخاكم الشيطان. Don't, like, assist, like, your brother, like, with the shaitan. So that, like, don't be assistant for the shaitan. So the shaitan can take advantage of that person, and they can, like, use them as they want. So it's something that, like, we need to learn from the lesson. And the other thing that I'm going to mention is, he's got, like, he didn't have something to give. He didn't have, like, if, like, something to give. But the ulama, they said, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhim, if the person he's in that situation, and he doesn't have anything, and is not able to do those 3 things, with the major kafara, the moment that he became able to feed, or the moment that he it's going to be wajib on him to do it. The moment that he became able to it. For example, he may not have money right now, but the moment that he became able, that he can feed 60 people, he need to make up that and to do that. Now, والحديث السادس عشر عن عائشة رضي الله عنها وأم سلمة رضي الله عنهما أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يصبح جنبا من جماع ثم يغتسل ويصوم متفق عليه وفي حديث أم سلمة ولا يقضي. So this hadith is still, like, the related to the, as we say, the state of the, like, the sexual impurity. It's, like, related to the sexual intercourse. So this hadith is talking about if the, like, the person, they, like, and his wife, they have that relationship at night, and he still didn't take ghusl. He still didn't take the hara, like, can he fast if he still didn't take the, like, the hara? So that is fine. Like, it's not when you are when you are fasting, you need to have the intention. And if the time of the fasting comes, even if you are in the state of the janaba, you are in the state of the janaba, as long as you are not doing it, then your fasting will be okay. Your fasting, will be okay. Now, as long as you didn't continue that when the time of the the fast starts, when the time of the fast starts. So Aisha and Salama radiallahu anhuma narrated that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to wake up in a state of janaba, in a state of the major impurity, or you can say also the sexual impurity, after having that relationship with his wife, the Rasul sallallahu, and he will then take a bath and fast. So it was a normal Rasul sallallahu, when he wake up, in that situation, he can do his intention, take his suhoor, and then when he go into the Fajr, they can take the shower. So that's doesn't impact it doesn't impact your fasting, as long as you are not doing the action. I think that makes sense. Now, and the hadith Abu Salama, she also added to that, and she say, and he will not make up that day, Rasulullah. He wasn't, because you are not in. There is something that will be fine. So. And when we say that, there's something that I want to make it clear. When we say anything, the sexual impurity here, it's not only the intercourse. Even the other things, like if the person has the status of the janaba, because of the ejaculation or anything related to that, it's still going to consider it. And if you are in the state of the janaba, you have to take ghusl, but the ghusl and the fasting, they are not connected. You can fast before even you take the ghusl, and then you can take the ghusl again later. So that's one thing. And the other thing that you need to understand is the thing that nullifies the salah, the siyam, the fasting, it's not only the intercourse. Even the ejaculation by itself also it nullifies the fasting, if that's the day of the Ramadan. If you do that, also that's going to nullify your fasting. So then you have to make up that day. But the question is, are you going to do the major kafara, as you're going to do when you have the intercourse or not? That's the point of the the argument of the scholars. But the strongest, wallahu alam, is going to be there's no major kafara on that one. The only thing is going to be the make up and make complete in that day. Now, we'll answer your question later. What is it? No, it's not. If it's wet dream, it's not. The wet dream is not. It's what's going to counter towards that is going to be what your reason for it. For example, the husband, he has some kind of he play with his wife, or they do kind of for example, and then he's something that he knows if he does it, that's he's going to be in that situation, or the person he look for something that if that happened, that's he's going to be in that situation. If you are the one who caused this, using towards maybe they with his wife, hand, anything else, it doesn't whatever, if the person caused that situation, that's what we're talking about. But if you didn't cause it, the wet dream, something related like that, or something that normally if that even happened to you, for example, if it wasn't something normal that's that's gonna lead you to that situation, that doesn't impact and doesn't have impact on your fasting. Now, so that's something that that we need to understand it, and we know the Rasul, if the Rasul wasn't do that, the people we are following the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that what the Rasul sallallahu mentioned, and we know the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said we always need to follow the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What he said, Wallahi, inni la arju an akuna akhshakum lillah wa a'lamakum, yani wa an akuna a'lamakum bima attaqi. The Rasul, he swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he hopes that he is the most fearful of Allah of us, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the most knowledgeable among us of this things that he he got against. Now, so we're gonna follow on this matter on the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, And as the wet dream, as I said, it doesn't nullify and it doesn't impact. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not burden a person beyond their ability, because that's not like, your ability. Now, so we're going to still continue about this topic. And the hadith, all of this is going to talk about this topic. Like, does kissing the husband, his wife, does nullify the fasting? Like, is that going to impact his wife? Like, for him, for example, embrace his wife, or like having that kind of interaction, that nullify the fasting or not? This is what this hadith is talking about. عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقبل وهو صائم ويباشر وهو صائم ولكنه كان أملككم لإربه. رواه البخاري ومسلم. وفي رواية لمسلم كان يقبل في شهر الصوم. Aisha radiallahu anha narrated this hadith that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he used to kiss his wives while he was fasting. What are we going to learn from there? The kissing does that what? Doesn't nullify? Doesn't nullify? Doesn't nullify the fast. وَيُبَاشِرُ, and وَيُبَاشِرُ, and embrace his wives while he was fasting. وَلَكِنَّهُ كَانَ أَمْلَكَكُمْ لِإِرْبِهِ. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she mentioned a very important point, that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he had more control over his desires than all of you. This is what he said, Aisha radiallahu anha. It wasn't so, and the other narration, he say, even كان يقبل الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم في شهر الصوم, he used to kiss his wives in the months of fasting. So what we are learning from here, my brothers and sisters, what we are learning from here is, I'm going to summarize it, inshallah, then I'm going to, inshallah ta'ala, stop on this hadith, so you're going to get some time, inshallah ta'ala, to get ready for the iftar. So, if you know kissing your wife, it's going to lead you to what? To intercourse. Or it's going to lead you to come, or what they say, ejaculation, right? If you know it's going to lead you to that, then definitely you have to be away from it. You have to be away from it. And if you do it while you know it, that's going to have impact on your fasting. Because whatever is going to, lead you to something that's going to nullify your fasting, it's going to take the same rule as, it's going to take the same rule as what's going to nullify the fasts. It's same thing the mubashara. So that's something that the people, they need to be aware on it. And that's why the ulama, when they're talking about, having that kind of, relationship, the man between the man and his wife, between the husband and his wife, if that's happening, if they know there's nothing going to happen from them, and that person, he is strong and he can control himself, and doesn't has any impact on his fasting or on the hard fasting, if that's the case, then they say, it's going to be the case of that hadith mentioned, if you can control yourself. But if you know yourself, you shouldn't cross that bridge. And you should be away from anything that's going to impact your fasting, and you should be away from it. And specifically, this is the shahwa, and as the hadith that we mentioned before, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned, you need, when he was talking about sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِلَّا الصَّوْمَ فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. The Rasul he said, يَدَعُ الطَّعَامَ مِنْ أَجْلِي وَيَدَعُ الشَّرَابَ مِنْ أَجْلِي وَيَدَعُ لَذَّتَهُ مِنْ أَجْلِي وَيَدَعُ زَوْجَتَهُ مِنْ أَجْلِي. The Rasul he mentioned that the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hadith al-Qudsi, that he said, he leaves the food for my sake, he leaves his drink for my sake, he leaves his pleasure for my sake, and he leaves his wife for my sake. It's so you leave in all your desires for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you are fasting and you don't want your fast to be impacted. And this is there's something we're gonna applying and implementing and taking and fulfilling the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يوفقنا لما يحب ويرضى, ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يتقبل منا ومنكم, وأن يوفقنا وأن يتقبل منا صيامنا وقيامنا. جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك, نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت, نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Inshallah ta'ala, on Wednesday we're just going to start a little bit earlier, inshallah ta'ala, and we're going to finish a little bit earlier, inshallah ta'ala. So we may start, inshallah ta'ala, by 6, and we may finish, inshallah ta'ala, by 6:40. So inshallah ta'ala, whoever want to benefit, inshallah, you can come, inshallah ta'ala, earlier. بإذن الله تعالى. جزاكم الله خيرا. أحسن الله إليكم.